Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. The goal of this bill is to produce economic growth, to cut taxes, and to get our fiscal house in order.
Okay, so I have to give Karoline Leavitt partial credit there because one of the things she said there is true. It is going to cut taxes for the wealthiest American. Hey, she admitted it. Credit. You're still gonna mostly fail because I don't see what part of getting our fiscal house in order involves handing over $5 trillion to the wealthiest people in the world. That will, I'm sorry to say to the Council of Economic Advisors who were picked to deliver that message, yet no, it's gonna add to the deficit because you're gonna be raising trillions less dollars. And I know that you guys wanted to try to make it seem as if you were being responsible about balancing your massive Titanic tax cuts by totally effing over working Americans, killing Medicaid, that sort of thing. But you're not, it's not even nearly enough. I mean, it's devastating taking $900 billion out of Medicaid, but you're giving way more than that to the wealthy. So how exactly does that stimulate the economy? Oh, I know. It's gonna trickle down economics. I'm still waiting, from those George W. Bush tax cuts to start trickling down, and I don't feel it. I don't see it. It didn't work under him, and it didn't work under Trump the first time. But hey, maybe the third time, maybe this time it will work. Well, anyway, we're gonna get to that $1.6 trillion figure that she cites there, as if it's a thing, as if that's what we should be focusing on. But we want to move to a Republican senator who's going to largely contradict everything Karoline Leavitt said to you there, the lie that she told. That's Ron Johnson. Take a look.
If you really look at it, look at the numbers, and I look at the numbers, we will actually increase the deficit over the next 10 years, going from right now $37 trillion in debt. CBO says we'll be at 59. My guess we'd probably increase that by about $4 trillion with the big New Deal. Or the big beautiful bill, that puts us at $62 to $63 trillion. Again, you have to be honest.
He just described it felt like the better part of $20 trillion being added to the thing right there, 37 to 50, whatever he said. That's a lot of money, and it doesn't get to the national debt without first passing through the deficit. And he's right. He's terrible, but he's right, because that's what happens when you raise trillions less dollars every year while not cutting spending, jacking up spending, adding $150 billion a year to the military, which is already bigger than like all of the rest of them combined. And so he's being honest there. Again, I don't know why he still called it the big beautiful bill like I do it sarcastically. He seems to understand that it's a raw deal for the American people. He referred to it as the big New Deal or whatever. The big New Deal was actually designed to stimulate the economy. It was designed to restructure the relationship between the government and its spending and the vast majority of Americans to make sure that they're actually getting something out of the government. This is like definitionally the exact opposite thing. This is the robber barons retaking the last vestiges of spending that actually did go to working Americans. And he seems to understand that. I have no doubt that he'll vote for it in the end, but at least he's making Karoline Leavitt look like the liar. She is right there. And so let's jump into some of the actual numbers being put out there, the estimations of how much this cost could end up at. Latest example, Monday afternoon, Penn Wharton budget model offered a projection that took into account the bill's positive economic dynamics, but nevertheless found an increase in primary deficits of almost $3.3 trillion over 10 years. The bill also found that the bill would increase the US GDP by 0.5% in 10 years. And so again, look, they believe it's the Wharton School of Business. Obviously, they believe strongly in American business. And so to them, it seems reasonable to talk about these positive economic dynamics. But I know the theory behind all of this. The idea is that our businesses would do so much better if their taxes were lowered, if the government got off their backs. But we've already done that multiple times. They already pay like nothing in taxes. They are already, especially under Trump, unhampered by basically any safety or environmental regulations whatsoever. So I don't know what more can be given to them, but let's talk about that $1.6 trillion referenced by Karoline Leavitt. So We don't know for sure exactly where that's coming from. I am assuming someone's butt. But anyway, Trump's Council of Economic Advisors, that's what she referenced. They're not using that number, to be clear. Maybe she's confused, more likely she's just lying. But here is what the director of the OMB, Russell Vought, this is Trump's OMB director, said. The current House bill includes $1.6 trillion in savings. These are not gimmicks, but real reforms that lower spending and improves the programs. And so, look, I know that I can be a dick. I think we can all be clear about that, especially when it comes to these people, because they don't deserve our compassion. I've been covering this a lot. I have no idea what that is a reference to. Like, okay, let's say they get the $900 billion by devastating Medicaid. What else are they talking about that is designed to generate an equal amount of additional saving? And that would be if there was no extra spending. And we know that there is a very significant amount of additional spending. The $150 billion for the military every single year, by the way. And again, I don't even know if that 1.6 trillion, is that supposed to be over 10 years? Because that's like almost exactly the additional spending on the military. Like, I honestly have no idea what they're saying. And maybe they've realized that Trump's plan to just throw out a statement as if he's gonna be reasonable or as if he gives a damn about what happens to the American people, like that's becoming harder to do because it's so clear that he doesn't, that just throw out a random number and confuse us for a while. I guess that'll get me for today, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know what these numbers are supposed to be a reference to. And certainly no nonpartisan body is talking about anything like that. And to close this off, I just wanna be clear. I think we all understand, coming out of the doggy period of American politics, that when they say savings, and then when we point out that it doesn't exist, there's two ways that that's the case. One, that that number doesn't exist as anything. There's no $1.6 trillion in the same way that there's no $2 trillion that Doggy was talking about. But then maybe even more significantly, savings doesn't mean what they are implying that it means. Just cutting spending, if it's spending that is necessary or popular, it doesn't make sense to slap the sticker of savings on it because we didn't want to save that money. Again, as I always say, I could just stop spending money on food, but it would be kind of weird for me to describe it as a savings as I die of starvation. It's not really a savings. People think of that as needless spending, wasteful, luxurious, extravagant spending. You cut that, that's a savings. When you just cut the portion of the federal budget that goes to working people while giving hundreds of billions of dollars to defense contractors and literally trillions of dollars to the economic elites, that's not a savings, that's just a transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top.